Halo Infinite is a test of whether AAA games with their holiday cash flow for the stockbrokers' portfolio, the big box stores, digital marketplaces, and online retailers' blue-chip blockbuster profits are still the gold standard by which games are measured. A test of whether, as the data has it, mobile games, the Wii, PlayStation 2 are really the future. A question has arisen across all media, where the art starts and the buck stops. For films, it's the Marvel and DC Infinite Universe. It seems the brief period of 1960 to 80, where films could both be artistically savvy and profitable, met their fate with computer-driven models guaranteeing a sure thing, which surely doesn't exist. Halo Infinite is a test of whether that window of possibilities, the Schrodinger's cat of potentialities, that was the industry that dreamed a dream to wish for dreaming, of the early 90s to late 2000s, before Call of Duty was king, to WoW, to League of Legends, to Fortnite factory of chasing the trendline existed. There was once a world where Konami made Silent Hill, where Halo was a vision from the Macintosh Apple computing, a world known as Marathon, where all that seemed guaranteed was that gaming would get better, bigger, more immersive, grander in scale at a Moore's law of dizzying pace. But what has really happened was the reality of Candy Crush out-earning expensive AAA launches, and the Nintendo DS being the greatest selling Nintendo console of all time, and $1 billion for Epic, so they killed the golden goose on iPhone. Here's the current answer to that test, of whether or not Halo Infinite is our savior of AAA gaming. It isn't the savior. In reality, and in fact, Halo is our broker of our new reality that we must accept. That we must now take the old with the new and the new with the old. That no AAA launch from here on out will be void of any sort of persistent, online, gated content, nor micro transaction fee. So what of these first impressions? Well, Halo Infinite is Halo. Now, mind you, it's Halo, but it's ultimately Halo. Okay, you get it. What do I mean? I mean that all the good stuff is still here. The same stuff you find on the Master Chief Collection, with 4 other games, Firefight, 4 campaigns, and years of updates and additions and quality of life changes, etc., etc. By which I mean that the Halo loop that has existed since Halo 3 is still there. There's the impressive attention to detail, a Spartan flying off a jump pad being impaled by a pelican, gas can being dislodged by a frag grenade and gaining enough momentum to frag a Spartan in the corner of the map. The same things that have existed since Halo 2, really. The time to kill feels longer than in the past, treating I can get used to it loop of the pistol feeling like a slightly less potent version of Combat Evolved than Halo 5, while still being the go-to sidearm for a headshot. The aiming system is bright visually akin to Gears of War 3, which I know some will hate, but my eyes at 30 love. And another thing that's visually very helpful in this game, it's probably the thing they do the most. It's the most cutting edge in this regard. It is very easy to read the map and read tells for a shooter. Sniper rifles, any kind of marksman rifle has a very bright glow, and you can't aim down sight while being shot at. So there's a lot of good strategic counter in that, but I'll get to that some more as we go. The amount of times I lose enemies in Apex Legends for me is personally so frustrating. I've got a left eye stigma that America's healthcare system tells me I'm just going to have to be living with. And so I appreciate there being nice, bright outlines on the enemy. Some would say there's a lot of aim assist, but this really isn't the case. In fact, there's less aim assist than ever before. Aim assist being that magnetic drag effect of the reticle that is super pronounced in, say, Destiny 1, and in any early console shooter, you're really going to be able to tell it's there. But there is a lot of bullet magnetism, which is the game compensating for close enough shots, which can work as an interesting medium between hit scan and ballistics. Halo has always had a probably the most highly competent ballistic system across all gaming. It's one of the main reasons the first games were so impressive. They felt like military simulations with realistic equipment and physics just in a far future timeline. And the combination of bullet magnetism with high-level ballistic physics feels very potent and oozes competence. And I think that's been gained from 343's dedication to the competitive scene that was apparent in Halo 5. Each fight feels like part twitch shooting, aiming skill, part strategic weapon use, part movement, very small part movement, mostly aiming skill and strategic weapon use. I can't drag on the shooting. It feels as good as it's ever felt during the 343 era, to my opinion. The only trouble is, while 343 has found their niche and their system, and it is, to be fair, a little bit of a bizarre system. Like Halo 5 had weightiness on the right side of the character to try to be more realistic, but of course they're trying to go for that realistic feel while at the same time maintain that arcadey, future marine, competitive shooting feel that's just unique to Halo. But for the old Bungie fans, for the old fans rather, Bungie is still the king. That's my take. I still love the shooting in Destiny 1. And I still love the shooting in Halo 1 through 3 and Reach, of course. And I really felt like what Bungie kept doing was just tightening it and tightening it and tightening it and improving on it and putting weapons into the mix that made sense, didn't allow for power creep, but rewarded the type of shooting skill that they were going for, which was precision. So, that being said, the reality is going to be the test of profitability, not the shooting skill. I think that the competitive Halo scene is just going to be there, and I think that if you're a competitive Halo player, this game's going to be fine for you. It's going to continue to work. 343's done a really great job in that aspect. They've given a lot of respect to that scene. They put a lot of money into it and a lot of time into it, and I think they listen to it. So when it comes to profitability, though, I have to look at my 11-year-old nephew, who I played my 15 hours with the playtest. Most of that was with my nephew, who's 11. He loved Halo. I was amazed by this. I did not expect that in the least, but he loved it. He was hooked on it. He usually can give me like an hour or two on any shooter, especially Apex, before he gets frustrated, but he just loved the physics. It reminded me of myself playing Halo for the first time. It felt like I was discovering Halo for the first time watching him play. And his generation only knows Halo in the 343 era, and I think I forget this too often, but it's an extremely important point to my mind. Their conversation is 4 or 5 better. Not like when Tyrell and I are talking about it, or my brother and I, or any other person from my age group. We're always like, well, is Combat Evolved still really the best Halo for its storytelling and for what it represented? Or is it Halo 2? Certainly their conversation is not whether Halo ODST or Halo 3 had the better storytelling. I don't even hear them talk about the storytelling. For them, it's all about the multiplayer and what Microsoft would love. It's, what skins are cool, what suits are cool. For fans like myself, we have the old guard who read the novels and were really hooked into that first Halo, not because of the multiplayer, which was excellent, we all know that, but it was offline. The point of really Halo 1 was, this is an epic world. This is probably the greatest shooter ever made on console. It really is Combat Evolved. Of course, I can say so many good things about Halo. It really did change the shooter genre, if not gaming, which reminds me of a quick aside. My nephew was like, well, what's the best game ever? And he's like, well, he asked me that, but he says it's Battle Block Theater. I said, well, Tucker, really the greatest game ever is not a game you necessarily like. It's a game that really fundamentally changed, in my opinion, how we experience games, how they're designed, how they're developed, and how we, as fans, experience them. So, games like Morrowind, of course, which is also my favorite game ever, but still, I would argue Borderlands, Half-Life 1 and 2, Pitfall on the Atari, Mario, etc. Halo is one of those games. So, I always come at it from that perspective. Like, this was a game changer, but I also have to remember the fact that our days of fever dream, Monster energy drink, oil, sweat, and cold pizza on a Friday night in a 105-degree room with 24 non-deodorized pubescent males marinating in the acne and infected pores, playing Halo on dusty, overheating Xboxes is long over. And probably thank God for that. But it's been replaced. It's been replaced by this generation's I have anxiety and depression because social media has given us all brainworms. So I play at least 5,200 feet from the next guy who may or may not be a guy or may not be a person at all anymore. There are days of lugging equipment They just didn't exist. They didn't come to an end. They just didn't ever do it. It's how fast technology has moved. Like, my brother could relate to my experiences. My dad could even relate to my experiences. The generation coming up now, when it comes to gaming, what's a LAN party? They have no idea. And this is relevant in that I'm not sure my leaving the Halo playtest with a solid C and resigned, but certain that it's a meh, matters little. And that's not to say Halo Infinite is bad. It's just, it's got to live up with my age group in particular to a very, very high standard. And I've still always looked at Halo and thought, they're going to change things again. This will be the game that continues to set the bar. Doom was able to do that, so I don't think that I'm overly optimistic in dreaming. The game will sell. It'll help the Xbox Series X, but that system seems already doomed to be second fiddle to the PlayStation 5 based purely on name recognition. I greatly enjoy my Xbox Series X, but it's PS5 world out there. My nephew's generation, the 360 generation, the Halo 4, Halo 5, and I like my pink skin, you like your purple skin, will embrace it. They'll embrace it because to them, this is new. To me, it feels old. To them, it's like, oh, we've never played a game like this, but really you're playing Halo Combat Evolved in a large sense. And I get that's kind of what they were going for, but I'll be honest, I'm disappointed by that. And if this is what we can expect in December, I don't think even with that generation embracing it and the competitive scene staying strong, I don't see it being anything but another entry into the world of Halo at this point in time. I hope I'm wrong, I really do, but it feels status quo, and it feels like Halo's already in a really good place. It's still a super popular franchise, still makes Microsoft plenty of money, and the Master Chief Collection has definitely been monetized and has become that online retail marketplace that they envisioned, and Infinite is already set up to be that exactly. You got the Battle Pass, you got the store, you got boosts, you got micro credits, it's online. I'm not sure that it says, though, this is the new Fortnite. This is the new trend we go for. Xbox has retained one acclaimed franchise to Nintendo's Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, WarioWare, Smash Bros., etc. And I think that what Microsoft has failed to comprehend is that Mario kept evolving. Nintendo has continually invented fresh and creative ways to either reimagine or totally refresh their Mario and Zelda franchises. Sometimes this involves new twists on old ways to play, or in the case of Super Mario Galaxy, Sunshine, 64, Breath of the Wild, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, they're new visions altogether. Halo has had 3 such injections of fresh energy. Halo 4, the changing in the guard, the shooting mechanics changed, it had a new feel to it, but it was still fundamentally Halo. ODST, just from the storytelling perspective, and they put some new mechanics in there, the audio clips, the more of an open world. There was some experiments in ODST, even though I think it's one of the weakest games in the lineage. Halo Wars, self-explanatory. So Halo Infinite, their grand reemergence, I feel as of this playtest, it's a cold mix between Halo 4 and Halo 3 and Combat Evolved because it's so boots on the ground. You're getting the shooting of Halo 4, more or less. You're getting the pistol mechanics, the headshot emphasis of Halo 5, and the lack of visual clutter, the clear UI of Halo 5. And you get a Halo 3 feel with the graphics, and that's a criticism, to be honest, because when I played Halo 3, or I played ODST, but 3 especially, when you play that on the 360 for the first time, my God, wow, this is Halo. This is what the future is. Look at these graphics. Infinite feels like this is a game that we want to last at least 10 years, so we're gonna go for more of a stylized feel so that it doesn't age. So it looks like Halo 3. The gunplay, yes, is as tight as one could wish for, especially in the competitive scene. Each gun has a distinct use and strategy. But I'll tell you, from my non-competitive experience, battle rifle feels dull compared to the past. That Halo 2 battle rifle, that Halo 3 battle rifle is not there at all. It's dull against meaty targets. The Commando AR, maybe I don't have enough experience in these new Halos, but I don't think it has a designated rule at all. It offers little than an alternative to the equally effective AR that has much more ample ammunition. Power weapons are on a really long timer. They carry next to no ammunition. I think it's 6 shots for the sniper and 4 shots for the rocket launcher. So yeah, they get their moments of glory. My moment of glory. And they live up to the name power weapon.
One of ours is capturing a zone. Government. Rockets. Zone lost.
Their entire squad is cannon fodder.
Hostiles are capturing a zone.
Your enemy is nearing total control.
But one is often left fighting over them with teammates, and people troll each other, or you're left feeling most of the time just how inferior your weapon is against normal enemies compared to a power weapon's stopping fury. To me, this loop feels 20 years left behind. Now is the age of power weapon versus power weapon, not teammates fighting over the rocket launcher like it's 2005. And look, I've got criticisms, but listen, in our brave new world of pandemic, COVID-19, my sister, a nurse, works 70 hours a week, my brother works 70 hours a week, I'm working 7 days a week. The only generation that really seems to matter or be relevant now, probably only was ever relevant, is the young. In reality, as I say, it's probably always been this way, and their time is coming too, of course. They'll eventually be us, but the industry must give pause for just a moment. And remember, despite the young being the ones that we're all selling to, it's why your local corporation, the corporate elite, have their slogans and banners and flags for every month. They do their milquetoast due diligence in their tried and empty fashion, but they gotta remember that when the industry went to the Wii, and the Wii sold, and my god, it sold, and your aunt, cousin, everyone had a Wii, everyone decided to make their move, Microsoft, Sony, on the Wii market. And the profits for the next couple years stunk. They sunk down to new lows because what they learned was, soccer mom Susie, she buys a Wii. She buys Candy Crush. She buys, and then she stops. Then she's done. She's got what she wants. She's got a Wii. She's not really going to game much, and she's certainly not going to put money into the hobby. We of the gamers, we keep buying and failing to play, but we do buy. Microsoft vision is, how can we get around this? Can we get both people at once? Knowing the old school buys the games, but the kids play them. Game Pass combined with heavy monetization. I think that's their answer. And when I say heavy monetization, I mean this is an all-out total war offensive. I don't think I've ever seen the likes of it. It's a combination, again, of the old and the new. The old, like back in the day when you really only went to GameStop or Walmart to buy your games and you didn't just sit on your couch and load it to a hard drive. Yeah, buy the Cheetos for a code, drink Monster to addiction for the color green, which I loathe. I'm not happy about that at all, to be honest. I do not like the whole skin thing, and they tried to make it like, yeah, it's not really a big deal, you still have a lot of creative freedom. No, you don't. You buy the skins, it's totally set color patterns, you have to buy each one or earn each one, but earning is a battle pass thing still. So gone are the days completely of coloring your own Spartan emblem to your creative will, like Halo 2. Halo 2 was a groundbreaking game. You don't have online multiplayer on console. The way that it's set up without Halo 2, they designated the way the matchmaking works. They set up the party system. They created that clan system. They are the ones who made it so that you could decorate and customize to your heart's content, and every game followed their example. That's just done, and the days of breaking ground are well and done with. And you can call me too critical, but tell me I'm wrong, because it's very much so. Oh, this works according to our data. Fortnite makes this work, and it is gonna work. Okay, almost everything is behind passes and micro stores and coins and credits and limited to pre-designed varieties. And my generation will scorn and say, "Oh, Halo of old, you designed your emblem and colors today one you like, and we walked to school uphill both ways." But my nephew doesn't know the difference. He knows nothing different of this Halo from every other game, with its pre-designed color choices. And again, what's terrible is it's gonna work. I was already looking through and mulling choices. Well, I like the yellow, and I like the green, and I guess I'll go with that. While at the same time, back in my mind, knowing I used to be able to just do this. Halo 2 or Halo 3, you could just do this. Okay, so we got a couple more paragraphs here. Let's get back to the gameplay. Rather than the all-consuming fire sale that I think a lot of people are going to talk about and have been talking about, and I don't think it's going to do a bit of good. We're just sort of banging our head up against the wall. Halo Infinite has ditched the excellent movement system of Halo 5. I don't understand this. In fact, it's probably the thing that I was disappointed by the most while playing the game. Halo 5 had a robust movement system of glide, dodging, jetpacks, double jump, burst, dashes, slams, etc. I don't feel like I ever even really scratched the surface of all the possibilities that are there. It's not like Apex where it just kind of happens naturally all the time. It required simple button combos, but these could be practiced akin to Tekken and Mortal Kombat to perfection and offered an array of flexibility in every combat situation. They designed a good system in Halo 5, and this created a new layer on top of the old Halo formula, which kept it interesting. One of my big hangups as a late adopter of 343's reign with the game is that Halo 4 and 5 were jarringly good. I assumed, oh, they're probably terrible, you know, oh, the graphics look good, and people are giving them some credit, but can't be as good as Bungie's reign with the title. But no, 4 and 5 were good. They're good games. They're solid. They're fun. I had heard and really assumed the worst. Then I beat them on Legendary with Tyrell Vegnagun. Wherever you are, man, I miss you, bruh. We're gonna be back. We're gonna be back. But I was surprised by how good they were, especially 5. Sure, there's flaws. Persistent Halo hang-up of human and Covenant and Guardian weapons are all just direct clones of one another. A battle rifle is a carbine and vice versa. Heavy monetization was a new and just pronounced. It was there and it's there to stay. So the pay-to-win mechanics and multiplayer are definitely worth mentioning with Halo 5. But the shooting and the movement were very good. The multiplayer at the competitive level was excellent. Excellent. I've never heard a criticism of Halo 5's competitive scene. Continued to work on the game. They gave it years of updates and patches. They maintained a steady tournament system with good rewards, and the tournaments are run well from what I know, and it seems like the game is very balanced, and I think that they've been self-aware. 343 has been self-aware to design fundamentally sound maps, Halo maps. They recognize the 30-second adrenaline loops, high value placed on headshots, that this is a precision focused game. It's a strategic shooter. You need to place your body well and time your movement, and then time that movement with really good precision shots. It feels like a military simulation in the future, and they still maintain that. And it's a loop that games have borrowed from since, because Halo was really, they pioneered that 30 seconds, that feeling of a realistic shooter, but in the distant future. Games like Splitgate are super satisfying just by driving their core design from Halo's philosophy of 30 seconds of panic in corridors and headshots, which is why Halo Infinite to me is bizarre. Sure, the pistol is still mostly that Halo 5 creation of trusty sidearm and combat evolved gunslinger, but the rest of the weapon lineup feels either stale, weak, or stilted, out of place. The shotgun is now like the bullpup, and there's like a Halo Borderlands, like very much Borderlands light thing going on. The plasma pistol has lost its homing, and the bolt is way smaller. It's offset by more shots and less strain holding a charge shot, but the effect is still a weapon best used only to help a friend, not oneself. Frag grenade spam was, oh my god, I missed this, throwing a bunch of frag grenades, but then it's irritatingly familiar, as new firefights, or few firefights rather, relied on weapon skill, but a fresh spawn cleaning out defensive holes, especially in big team battle. Frag grenade doesn't hit that hard. You get 2 right at the offset, and people just throw them into holes and hope. Especially when you get like 5 people versus 5 people, and you're just so many grenades. The movement system is down to a jump and a slide, and the slide gives a slight momentum boost if you jump at the end of it or jump before it, and you combine that with the longer time, it means fights are often escapable, but you combine that with sight lines and grenade spam and camping, this quickly diminishes that slight positive. You really can't escape, it just takes more to kill people, which is annoying because you can get the jump on somebody and get away. One will find enemies able to take 4 or 5 bursts of your BR, and then you'll reload, and they will dash out of a fight altogether, and you'll not get your kill. Even if you had the jump on the guy in really good positioning, you will often find that when you try to escape, 4 or 5 grenades will be honed on your position, or a sniper will have managed to get behind your line. This is a huge problem because there is a massive difference between the power weapons and the regular weapons. So you think about Apex. Apex is one of the better shooters out there for sure. Yeah, the Spitfire hits hard as hell, but because the time to kill is so consistent across so many different weapons, with the Mozambique and the P2020 outstanding there, if you hit your shots, you can still go toe-to-toe with it. And in Halo, that is not the case. A sniper rifle with a grappling hook, you have now got a massively superior arsenal. And maybe that's by design, but I'll tell you, the snipers get behind enemy lines continually. So rather than a loadout of abilities, there's power-ups on the map. You get the repulsors, grappling hook, a shield, which is like kind of useless. And then you get more powerful single-use power-ups like overshielding or active camo. Good luck getting them. Just like the power weapons, it's basically a constant competition who can get over there and spam it first. What's frustrating is that the grappling hook is far and above the best ability, and everyone should just spawn with it to cover the large distances and offset the loss of movement abilities, in my opinion. Everyone should just spawn with the grappling hook. That'd be a great way to go ahead and equalize this thing right now, because a grappling hook combined with a sniper rifle means that player is now guaranteed a 2 to 3 tap leap across the entire map, and they'll get onto a null, and there's plenty of little nulls. It's weird because during the Bungie era, they were really big on not allowing players to get on sniper positions that were basically impregnable. There's a lot of those in at least the map rotation that we had with this test. There was plenty of like rocky outcrops where it was tough to see the guy. You do have the advantage of seeing where he is after you die, though. You can get onto a null with a grappling hook and a sniper rifle, and from a crouch position, you'll kill 8 Spartans. You don't even have to have a good aim at that point because you're like right on top of them, and they will not see you. Crouch, you're off radar. The radar is not super sensitive in this game. There's a massive disparity from the core loadout that can only succeed in 1v1 situations, which again is good. It feels balanced. 1v1s are very strategic. There's a good back and forth flow. It feels like you're playing Halo back in the day, but most all power in this game comes from a coordinated team. This is a positive, by the way, but it's a noteworthy detail. The element of Halo that remains unchanged when you stick with default loadout and going back to that bare bones movement system of sprinting and sliding and some mantling, but it's not like Apex or something where you can like climb everything. It's more like Borderlands, like there's designated mantling points, for lack of a better word, like clear little nooks that you're to grab onto. And having the flow of the match dictated by control and use of power weapons, the most paramount important detail, the most weighty strategy is teamwork. You got to get in a squad and you got to know Halo or die, because we know people bleed, they breathe, they sweat, they sneeze, they shit, they bleed Halo. And when people love Halo, they get into it if you're into it, which they're probably going to love this game because it is just, it's Halo. The only other option is hope you were given a brief window to get a power weapon. That's your equalizer, but there is real austerity in the power weapon spawns and ammo capacity. It's a window that feels far removed from 20 years of quality of life improvements in the shooter genre, in my mind. Trolling is back in a big way. People grab the rocket launcher with their grappling hook, so there's one place on the map where you have to hack a door to get into the power weapon. You could sit there and defend that door and kill 3 or 4 guys and get that door open, and your buddies will invariably run in there and grab the power weapon that you sought to get. And you do get some extra spawns throughout the mission, but they're spread out and they're usually far away from the overall flow of the match. It's really back to old school Halo. Bad players will get a power weapon and that can lose you the whole match, because the power weapon is the broker of fog of war and how it turns. If you get a hold of it and you use it well, you can flip a match right then and there. You get a hold of it and a bad player dies with it, gives it to the enemy team, gonna flip the opposite way. And then so you have the great players getting power weapons and dominating everything. Feels like you're back in Gears of War 1 or Halo 1 days, Halo 2 days to a degree, but less so because Halo 2 had dual wielding and a bunch of other ways that they improved on that, all of which can be found on the Master Chief Collection, to be honest. So if we really wanted to go old school, you could always just go old school. It's called the Master Chief Collection. It's why I felt that Halo Infinite should be more of a pioneering. Yeah, you gotta respect the roots, go back to Master Chief, tell that epic story. But let's also evolve this thing again. Combat evolved after all. It's too late for any change in trajectory in that capacity. Well, this is mostly the game we're gonna get. So rather than the past and the future that is meant to be infinite, I think that we're getting, it's sort of the Master Chief Collection and all in one game. And people are gonna argue, as they've argued on the forums and in social media, and I think they've listened to this a lot, is that Halo is meant to be boots on the ground. Halo is meant to be experienced one particular way, and that Halo is that same Halo you played in 2001 or whatever. My conclusion, which I think you can draw in between the criticism, it's Halo, man. It's still freaking Halo. It's Halo, but it's Halo. Halo Infinite is solid. Yes, I have my criticisms, sure, but it's still fun. Yet I can find fun in Roblox shooters like Arsenal, or find the same loop of Halo faster and with a twist in Splitgate. I can get an adrenaline rush and panic and of much greater intensity from the frustration of the aging and often stale at this point Apex Legends. What I'm not is impressed beyond expectations. This is not the decade in the making rejuvenation of the King like Doom was at this time. This is granted, this is just a playtest. This is just first impressions. I'm mostly concerned about the campaign at this point. I think that if that campaign is kick-ass, it lives up to expectations, this is a totally different conversation. But right now, I'm working 7 days a week in manual labor, and I sacrifice sleep. And to me, that's a real sacrifice with this kind of work. And I did that for Halo, because Halo is that important to my generation and for so many gamers out there. 4 hours of sleep to jump into the playtest all weekend and film and talk about it. And while there was fun to be had, there was some moments where I was really feeling it and really enjoying myself and felt like, yes, this is a game I can get into. I was moving around, sliding, the UI was impressive, the sound really immersive and popped, and the guns felt good, and you were getting pushed on by enemy positions, and it felt like Halo back in the day.
You're quite lethal with that. One of ours is capturing a zone. An ally has captured a zone.
Your team is close to total control.
Watch my back.
Incredible performance.
It just was really fun, and especially in a team. I had little fun solo. Solo is a really, especially in big team battle, solo was a frustrating experience. I believe strongly Halo Infinite is an experience that will resonate remarkably well with the current generation. Watching my nephew get into it like it was the first Halo game was all I really needed to see. They see it as fresh. They see it as new. They didn't experience Combat Evolve like we did. They are unaccustomed to the level of detail and depth that a AAA big budget title allows for. It's like when I show my nephew TV and movie productions of the past, like a movie like Naked Gun, when there were producers and budgets and directors. He's always amazed by the quality. He's so used to the YouTube solo creator world that when you see a proper film, it's like, oh wow, things can be that good. And for this generation, they're so used to Fortnite, the infinite beta, the money-making machine of skins and repetitive loop, that when they get that full AAA experience, it sort of stupefies them from what I've seen. That's my opinion on it. And for us, though, of the pre-computer algorithm hedge funds, I mean, I grew up and there wasn't internet yet, at least in my house. You know, it's Halo. It's a Halo that says if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a risk-adverse Halo. Get rid of interesting progress derived from Halo 4's loadouts and Spartan Ops. Get rid of Halo 5's simple but refined movement combo system. And then put a hodgepodge of Borderlands-y weapons, newly classified under damage types that I guess have always existed, but they never really said as much. Like there's plasma now, and there's arc damage, and there's kinetic damage. So to me, it can't compete with the weapon systems of Borderlands and Destiny. You're never going to compare with the weapon creativity of Borderlands because they got a whole algorithm they designed for that. In Destiny, you're never going to top the options that somehow remain mostly balanced. And so rather than, and what's really weird then is they don't even create the Doom rock, paper, scissors system of point and counterpoint. You know, this guy is weak to this weapon, switch to that to counter this, and this counters that. Even Apex, where it's like weapons exist on an equal plane and it's a preference. They go for that. They're not there yet, but that's what they're always going for. There is definitely good weapons and bad weapons, and I think they've got a lot of work and balance to do, and I think that weapons have to find their spot. I got better with the weapons as we went, but I felt like they went more for the weird than the useful. So what they've gone for is they've gone for this light damage type system. They've got a longer time to kill. Guns either have slow projectiles or bizarre arcs to qualify them as skill weapons, and sometimes they hit like a skill weapon, and sometimes you're confused on why that didn't hit. And in the recent past, I have been personally hooked and impressed by these shooters in order of least to most. Apex, from the birth, it felt like the anti-Fortnite, a toned down Titanfall with an emphasis on shooting, and in the right moments, it's magic. Both both modern Dooms, Doom Eternal and Doom 2016, to me the gold standard. They made the old new and vice versa, and really rewrote the book on how we look at shooters. You know, you take away the sprint, you keep power-ups in there, you still make it a big weapon wheel, and yet it worked. You could still modernize the way that game from the early 90s worked and make it the king again. So Destiny 1, as broken and frustrating and deceitful as the first Destiny was, it was also entirely pioneering and ended up arguably as a masterpiece. I would say it was. It was really World of Warcraft on console, and they lived up to their goal, I think, by the end. It took them a long time, and it was a bumpy path. But few things, to me, have been as addicting as those early Destiny 1 days. Farming weapons, trying them out in the Crucible, finding broken things like Shot Package. It was just different, and it was new, and you had the different classes you could experiment with. When you got bored, you could go into the PvE and you could try to find some progress there. And the Crucible had level ups to it and it had a nice progress system. So, you know, Destiny 1 was fun. It felt like there was always something new to try or do. And Battleborn, which I loved, and some of you, of course, that have been with us for a long time are going to understand why Battleborn was so special, but Battleborn was by far the most experimental, and it's like Destiny, but more so. Always trying to find new ways to build, new helix combinations, new gear, new weapons, new ways to play. These experiences were either fundamentally old meets new or just altogether new, which I guess at my age, that's what I seek the most of. So Halo is not any of those things. It takes all of these games, with all those games, they take current systems and they take old mechanics, but they apply new twists to take themselves out of the ordinary and give the player a refreshing experience. Halo has taken the opposite strategy. It looked at every Halo up to this point, and they said, well, I think we'll take the pistol mechanics from 5, and we'll take the AR from 4, and we'll take the commando, and we will take the battle rifle, but I don't really feel like they have a place. We'll take out the shotgun, we'll put in this weird bullpup thing. We'll get rid of the movement system. We'll keep a slide though. Nothing is new here. It's comfort food. It's Halo. It's the Halo Foundation, combined with everything that you found in the past games that the forums and YouTube videos, social media will all tell you they want. They all say, I want to go back to this Halo. If only we could go back. But for everybody, for my nephew's age group, it's Halo 4 or Halo 5. For my generation, if only we could go back to Combat Evolved. And I think they should have just said, we're going to make something kick-ass, we're going to make something new, we're going to rewrite the book on this sucker. We're going to take everything you love, sure, and we're going to stay true to it. And in some ways, they've done that. But I don't think they're rewriting the book by any means. It's going to suffice. That's Halo Infinite suffices. It's sufficient. It is sufficient if this playtest is anything like what we'll get at launch. There's no new ground being broken here. Nothing to the level of Doom resuming of the mantle. We'll all play it. It'll make millions of dollars. It took millions of dollars to make it. It'll wallow in that middling popularity for a decade if this stays the way it looks. And we'll say it's Halo. But it's Halo.